Alright my broskis, Captain Arch here to bring you a review and beginner's combat guide on Warhammer 40K Darktide. I have chapters in the video so you can jump to where you need, and as always, if you appreciate this content, give me a like and a subscribe. I'm trying to get to 50 subs so I can start live streaming on YouTube. Without further ado, here's the review. Attention, brave inquisitors and warriors of the Emperor's realm. Gather your bolters and power swords, for a new crusade awaits in the grim darkness of the Warhammer 40K universe. Step into the unrelenting chaos of the Hive City and confront the heretical hordes of the dark future in Warhammer 40K Darktide. In this unholy battle, you'll face unspeakable terrors, from heretic cults to vile Xenos creatures. Unleash the righteous fury of the Adeptus Astartes, or wield the Emperor's Fury's wrath as your weapon. The Inquisition demands your service, and there is no time to waste. With stunning visuals and immersive gameplay, Darktide is a beacon of hope in the grim dark universe. Its relentless action and grim atmosphere will make you feel like you've stepped right onto the war-torn battlefields of the 41st millennium. So don your power armor, purify your thoughts, and embrace the grim dark future. In the Emperor's name, purge the heretics. Story and narrative. Warhammer 40K Darktide originally released on the PC in November of 2022. It's just recently released now on October 4th of 2023 on the Xbox Series X and S. This is a PC and Xbox exclusive, and this is considered a first-person ARPG within the Horde shooter / Horde melee. You find yourself in a max prison as a prisoner for something you did not do. Things take a turn for the worse when the prison is attacked by mercenaries, giving you a chance to break out alongside the chaos. You end up getting a chance to prove your innocence after rescuing a high-ranking officer from being killed by the same mercenaries that broke into the prison. You take a getaway craft and start your new path aboard the Morning Star, a ship that belongs to Inquisitor Grendel. You'll follow a chain of events that alerts us to a spy being on board the ship, and you, alongside everyone else, is considered a suspect. You'll have to complete missions and level up to move the story along and uncover who the spy is and clear your name. Progressing the story by leveling, I feel, causes a disconnect because you're simply leveling up to achieve a higher trust level to only get the story fed to you in small pieces as you continue to level up and reach level 30, which is max level. You aren't missing anything at all by not completing the story, and you won't get anything truly special by completing it. So having said that, I really recommend that you try out every operative and enjoy the game without any pressure of completing the story, as I believe it's more important to find the operative you like and take it to the max level so you can freely enjoy trying out all the builds available to you in the game. Gameplay. First, I want to say that this will be a solo multiplayer perspective on the game, as I has no friends, I only has cats, and cats no play Darktide. The gameplay loop you'll experience is the following. Select your mission from the mission command screen, where you'll be presented with the option to select the mission you want or what's available to you. Or use the quick mission button and it will automatically group you up with others while giving you a bonus of extra XP and resources. So I'm telling you right now, until you're max level, only use the quick play to find your missions. You'll be loaded into your mission, at which you'll simply kill enemies while completing the map's objectives. But the thing is, it's so goddamn addicting that you're always coming back for that rock. I mean, for the next mission, of course. And then after you're done with objectives, hopefully your team's pull-out game is strong.
Meu Deus.
Damn, Daddy!
And you extract, and bam, you're done. Vendors and NPCs. I want to briefly cover the vendors or NPCs that you'll be commonly interacting with on board the Morning Star, which is basically your lobby where you'll also see other players running around too. The Penance NPC is where you'll go to track your achievements in the game. Achievements are broken down by operatives, team-based, mission-based, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Most of the penances will simply be there to give you the achievement, but some are tied to unique rewards like frames, which will be a flex, and I gotta say those frames look nice. The next vendors are the cosmetic vendors. The Commodore's vestures are a real money cosmetic, and the commissary is in-game obtainable money cosmetics. Sire Melk's Requisitorium is a vendor that gives you weekly contracts to complete, which will reward you with a unique currency to buy limited time based items from his loot table. Although some of these items look pretty and shiny, they shouldn't automatically be considered upgrades. I'll be going in depth into item stats as we go on. The Armory Exchange is where you buy gear with in-game money, and this gear is on a rotational loot table that refreshes every hour or so, as well as being able to buy base rarity weapons and upgrade them to higher rarity through the Shrine of Omnissiah. I recommend not going crazy on this until you have a decent idea of what you're doing so that you don't go using resources meaninglessly. Enemy types. Alright boys, I want to get the enemy types out of the way really quick, just so that you guys could have a moment within the video to go back to it and familiarize yourself with the enemies as well too. Okay, let's get through this quickly. Groaners. Groaners, there are horde type enemies, and they're a basic enemy. They're going to charge to you. They spawn right behind you oftentimes. Poxwalker, the same thing. Dreg Bruiser, Scab Bruiser that's equipped with a maul, often shows up with his boys. Dreg Stalker, this guy, basically the same thing, just guy with a gun. Scab Shooter, equipped with a last pistol, and he shoots at you from a distance. If you try to get close, he's going to start attacking you with a bayonet. Scab Stalker, shoots at you from a distance, downs your toughness. When you get close, swaps to a sword. This guy here, if he starts rattling his gun, it hurts. It gets really painful. Dreg Gunner has a big machine gun in his hands, likes to suppress enemies with constant fire. This guy here is pretty painful too. Dreg Rager immediately rushes towards you and will immediately start to spam his attacks until you stagger or kill him. Any enemy that has to be staggered or killed means don't even bother blocking them, because their attack is going to hit so hard it's going to chunk your toughness. So you have to immediately just reposition, adjust within your positioning and down them as quickly as possible, or just always be in the group with your team. Drag Shotgunner. The Scab Shotgunner is fighting at close range, deals massive damage with the shotgun. Scab Gunner. Big machine gun in his hands, likes to suppress his enemies with constant fire. Scab Mauler. Easy to spot with a big chain. This guy's pretty painful. Again, don't try to block this guy. Charges right to you. Scab Rager immediately rushes to you, and you have to stagger or kill him. Scab Shotgunner will attack you in close range, deals high damage. Beast of Nurgle. The Beast of Nurgle, slow moving slug monstrosity. This is a monstrosity type. It spews sludge that slows you down. It can also swallow players whole. Okay, thought behavior. Chaos Spawn. Monstrosity that random encounter boss that may burst out at nearby walls or appear from around the corner. It can move fast and periodically leap towards players. Dreg Tox Flamer. This guy here can immediately wipe teams. Often attacks from behind, splattering the ground with flames and knocking off your toughness. These enemies that they say often attacks from behind, this is why it's so important to always be with your team, because they will, out of nowhere, without you even possibly noticing, spawn right from behind you and immediately start doing damage. So it doesn't matter how good your awareness is, they will spawn when you're not looking. And if you're not when you're with your team, that's when everybody gets caught off guard and everybody starts to wipe. Plague Ogryn. This is a monstrosity type. Plague Ogryn is a monstrosity that likes to charge at its enemies. Careful, his attack will knock you back. Don't stand close to the edge of the chasm. Any enemies that have the ability to knock you back, you have to be careful, because they will knock you over the map. You can end up dying, or they'll knock you over the ledge. You'll be hanging on the ledge until you die or until a teammate picks you up, And I'm not gonna lie, not until the higher levels, teammates don't really have that much of a priority to go and pick you up. It happens. What can I tell you? Pox Burster. You can spot him with a constant ticking. Don't let it come close to you because he'll explode and knock you into oblivion. You can hear these guys with the ticking, and once you're in game, you'll know when you hear it. Trust me. Scab Bomber. This guy here can wipe enemies easy. Sorry, not enemies. It can wipe teams easy. The bomber likes to throw grenades towards your group. The grenades leave a big fire field behind you that knocks you off. That knocks off your toughness. Scab Flamer. Scab Flamer likes to attack you from behind. Ooh, freaky. Spraying flames over the whole floor. If you get hit by the flames, it knocks your toughness off. Scab Sniper easily wipes teams from a distance. If you're not ready, because if you have maybe like too many melee in the team and you have no way of getting to him because you have no range, what can I tell you? Scab Sniper spawns from very far away, behind enemies, and likes to target a player, easily noticeable by the red laser that's pointing at you. Scab Bulwark. The Scab Bulwark holds a big shield in front of him, making him invulnerable to frontal attacks. Crusher. These are elite type enemies, of course. The Crusher is easily spottable, bigger than most enemies, and holds a huge hammer in its hands. Do not try to be anywhere in front of this guy when he swings his hammer. He will literally crush the shit out of you. Reaper. Big enemy with a big gun. He will constantly shoot at you and suppress a group until you either kill him or stagger him. Scab Captain. This is a boss that appears at the end of levels sometimes, has a shield that you need to break before you damage his health. He uses a plasma gun and a chunky maul. Mutant. The mutant charges at you and grabs the player, knocking him up and down, and throws them off, and then charges at you again. Poxhound. Fast moving doggy. If the hound manages to reach you, he'll knock you down and eat you alive until the teammate knocks him off of you. If nobody helps you, he's just gonna kill you. Scab Trapper. This guy wipes teams easy. Scab Trapper often spawns behind you, trying to get you in her net. Dodge it. Demon Host. Last but not least, the Demon Host is a skippable boss. Once awoken, it has a green glow and its attacks are very fast. Once a player is downed, it soul drains it and retreats it. If you are in the lowest difficulty and you get somebody that hits this boss accidentally, just let that person die. The second that person dies, it'll disappear, and then you can just rescue that person a little later on in a level. Because in order to take this boss on, you need to either have the appropriate damage or have a tank in the team that can tank it, hold on to the damage and block it while the whole team downs it. This is a team boss. This isn't something that you're gonna accidentally down. All right, item basics. All right, my G's. So I want to get a chance just to talk to you about the basics of items in the sense of how to read what you're looking at, right? There's a bunch of numbers all over the place. How do you read what you're looking at? This isn't going to be any type of guide on telling you what are the correct numbers, if the numbers that are displayed on the current weapon are great numbers. This isn't what that's about. This is showing you how to read it so that once you know what build you're looking for because you looked up a guide online on YouTube. So once you know what you're looking for, you know how to start reading weapons and being able to discern whether you have something good on your hands or not. Okay, so first and foremost, I want to start with the rarity levels. As you can see here, I have 4 different weapons displayed. They're in different colors. These are all the rarity levels or item levels that are available within the game. You're going to get the base level, which is this gray level, which is profane. You're going to then have blue, sorry, not blue. You're going to have green, which is redeemed. You'll have anointed, which is blue, and then you'll have transcendent, which is the orange or gold hue. So what's the difference between each and every one of them? The difference between each and every one of them is if you look at this profane combat blade that I'm looking at, what we're seeing here at the bottom are its modifiers. When an item is at a base level, at a profane level, you're only going to have stats that come in the form of modifiers. However, when we look at a redeemed item, we now see that there's an extra bar here with some additional stats that the item has that the profane item didn't have. So as an item goes up in rarity, it's also going to have additional perks and blessings added to them. Now we're going to take a look at an anointed. So the anointed one here, as you can see, between the difference between one and the other is that it has a blessing. And then lastly, the difference between transcended and anointed is that it has 2 blessings and 2 perks. So as you can see here, between the heavy eviscerator that I have that's anointed and transcended, if you look at the anointed one, it's going to have its modifiers, its perk, 1 perk and 1 blessing. But the transcended has 2 perks and 2 blessings. Now let's get into how you're reading these items. I'm going to go back to the profane item. An item rating consists of the modifiers or item stats that are below the actual item: light attack, heavy attack, and punch, whatever. As you can see here, this item is getting its rating directly from its modifiers, which is 278. But if we jump up to the the redeemed version, we're going to see that this item has a higher item level, not only because its modifier stats are higher, but because it's also getting additional rating points from its perk. It's additive, so it's going to then stack up, and that's what's going to cumulatively give you the item rating. We're going to jump over to one here, which is the anointed, which we know that the anointed also has the addition of the blessings. And as you can see, 264 from the modifiers, 15 from the perk, 45 from the blessings. We jump over to the transcendent, and we have even higher item levels because we're having more points added because there's additional perks and additional blessings. The other thing I want to get down to is the specifics on modifiers. When you end up getting a modifier or a weapon and you look at its modifiers, those modifiers will never change. What ends up occurring is, as you continue to consecrate the weapon and level it up and get its rarity up, you'll have access to perks and blessings, but the modifiers themselves will never change. So I don't want you to think that you're able to rechange these modifiers, right? So the goal here is that when you're looking to get an item and you're looking to upgrade, you want to come over here to the Armory Exchange, into Brunt's Armory, and you want to buy the item at its base level here. When you buy the item at its base level, you're going to look to see if this item, right from the beginning, you can see we're looking at 2 combat blades here, and if you start looking at the modifiers, you see that the modifiers are entirely different, right? The modifier on this one here at the bottom has high penetration, high finesse, high first target. This one here at the top, high penetration, but finesse is low, first target is low. But the other stats that were low on this item here is higher on this one. Higher damage, higher mobility, right? So if you were looking to pick between this one and this one, you start being able to now discern what these numbers are adding up to and if this is the right item that you're looking for, so that you can ultimately go back to the Omnissiah and start looking at upgrading and investing some resources into this item. Combat basics. Alright boys, welcome to the combat section of this guide. There's a couple things I want to cover here, and the first thing I want to start by covering is the following, right? With weapons. weapons, they each have their light attack, and they also have their heavy attack, right? So obviously by now you've learned, you've maybe gone through the training, or maybe this is your training. If you hold your attack button, it's going to start swinging with heavy attacks, and you start doing light attacks, of course, by just tapping your attack button. The one thing I want to let you know is that with attacks, they get charged, right? So if you don't charge this attack all the way, it's not going to do its full damage. So I'm going to show you here, if we hold the attack all the way down, you see the damage that it did. It looked like it did about 150. We're going to do it again. Whoop, hold on, we're going to do it again. We're going to reset. We're going to hold the attack. And as you can see, well, it ended up critting, but on the first one it did 109. I'm going to hold the attack again. There we go. It ended up doing 250, right? I'm going to do one more time. There you go, 250 consistently. Now what happens if you don't hold it all the way, but you still do the animation? As you can see, look, I'm doing the animation, but it didn't do the full 250. So it still does the animation, but it doesn't do the full 250. So remember that if you're gonna get the most out of your weapon's heavy attack, you're gonna have to hold the attack all the way so that it can end up executing itself without you letting go of the heavy attack. The next thing I want to start covering is distances, right? So if you can see here, you know, we're right in front of this guy. We're gonna hit him. Okay, perfect. It hits him. Now I'm gonna go to about this distance here, to about this screw, and we're gonna attack him again. As you can see, it still reaches him. We're gonna step back a little further into this. We're gonna step back a little further here. Can it still reach him? Yes, it does. So you can see that still reaches him. But I want to show you one thing that's different. The light attack reaches him, but will the heavy attack reach him? Look at the heavy attack. Okay, still reaches him. We're gonna go back a little bit further. Light attack reaches him. That's great. Will the heavy attack reach him? No. So the heavy attack in this distance here will not reach the enemy, but the light attack will. Come on. There we go. But the light attack will. So as you can see, heavy attack is missing. Heavy attack is missing. Oh, it ended up clipping him because he's moving around himself. Keep spawning in different places, that's why. There we go. So heavy attack is missing, but the light attack still strikes. So this is why it's important for you to be able to intimately get to know your weapons, right? Spend time with your weapons. Once you figure out what build it is that you're going to end up going with after you've looked up your build on YouTube, now that you have that weapon, go into the meat grinder and test the weapons out. Test the distance. At what distance can I use this weapon? All right, boys, here we are with the Ogren. Got a cleaver in hand, and we're going to start looking at the distances here that we're able to strike with the Ogren, right? So obviously from here we were striking at this distance here with the Zealot. Still hits. Perfect. We're gonna go back to the next screw. This is the third. I'm gonna go back here, sorry, to this distance here. Does it hit? No, it doesn't. A little further up. We're looking down, we're at the crate. Here we go. Still not it. There we go, from here. All right, so if you're looking at the distance that we're reaching, we are actually reaching a little bit more distance with the Ogren than we are with the Zealot. So right from here, we're reaching those distances. Obviously we're not going to reach because this guy spawned a little further back. I'm going to move to the side for this guy here. There you go. See, still reaches him. We're going to try a heavy attack. Heavy attack still reaches because of the way it cleaves. Now we're going to try the heavy attack, but then the swing. See, the swing still reaches. Perfect. So heavy and light attacks are covering the same distance on this one. That's why it's important that you get to know your weapon. Now we're going to go ahead and switch over to a shield. And when you look at the shield visually, the shield is supposed to cover more distance, but it's actually going to cover the same amount of distance if you start looking, right? Here we go. There we go. You see? Covers the same amount of distance that we were covering with the knife itself. The same amount of distance. Let's see what happens if we back up a little bit. See, it doesn't get him. It's a longer weapon, ideally, like physically, it's a longer weapon, but within the game itself, you're still getting the same distances. The distances are mainly controlled by your operative, as far as from where your attacks are landing. It's not really controlled by your weapon. So keep that in mind, guys. The next thing I want to go over is positioning. You have the ability to dodge, but I don't want you guys to think that we're dodging. I don't want you to think of it as a positioning. This is a very aggro game. You gotta play strategically aggro, because if you don't play strategically aggro, you will get overrun, and you have to be quick to reposition yourself so that you can continue bashing your enemies. So how do we do this, right? Some of your builds, or some of the best builds, are going to consist of builds that have heavy attacks on it. But look how long it takes to generate this heavy attack. Holy crap, that thing took forever, right? So what do we do as the enemy is piling up on you and attacking? What we do is we're able to use those dodge mechanics to sidestep and start repositioning to where we want to get to land our attack. So I'm going to hold the heavy attack, and my goal is going to be to get over here by the time I do the swing so that I can get all the enemies. So here we are. I'm holding the heavy attack, and there you go. I did the swing, and I ended up getting a bunch more enemies than I would have gotten initially. I'm going to hold the heavy attack, sidestep, and as you can see, I end up changing my direction. I'm going to do it again. Hold the heavy attack, sidestep, change the direction entirely of where you're at. There's no reason for you to start walking around, holding it and walking around. As you can see, the distance that you're able to cover and repositioning is much slower than being able to just jump around doing your side dashes and repositioning yourself to how you need to get so that you're able to let off your heavy attacks. An enemy's going to attack you with a heavy attack in the front, pull back, and then attack and land your heavy attack. You're about to run up to a squad. Don't run up to the squad and start doing a heavy attack when you run up to them. As you're running up to the squad, start generating your heavy attack, and when you land, by the time you're there, you're landing your heavy attack. So keep that in mind, guys, as you're going into this game basically not knowing anything, because the first couple of levels are going to be very painful if you don't practice these mechanics. If you don't get familiar with the basics, they can be a little bit painful. Anybody else who comes from Vermintide 2, we're Gucci. Operatives. So this game gives you 4 operatives to choose from. The first one is the veteran. The veteran should be considered mostly a range style class with abilities that go towards strengthening their ranged abilities and their ammo capacity and ammo production abilities as well too. The class also has some really cool stealth mechanics that you can spec into with the talent tree. I am not covering the talent tree here on this guide. You guys should definitely look towards other guides to be able to look at the talent tree, because the talent tree really does go in depth into the game, and it goes a little bit more advanced into the play styles, into what items you need to look for and things like that, right? So veteran is one of them. Next one is the Ogryn. Ogryn is your big heavy tank style guy. but there's also a range build for him as well that kicks a lot of ass. And there's also a berserker build as well, melee builds for him. He's not just a tank, but he is a phenomenal tank though, I'm not gonna lie. The next one is the Psyker. The Psyker is my absolute favorite one. It's most definitely the highest skill class out of all of them, because it's just a lot of things that you have to manage all at once that other classes don't have to worry about managing. But the Psyker is your usual range caster class. And then lastly, but surely not least, we have the Zealot. The Zealot is a support tank class, and it's also a really good melee class as well too. Cover a lot of distance. You'll be able to recharge other people's toughnesses as well too, and tremendous like melee damage with like the Eviscerator build. It's fantastic. Graphics and visuals. Environments are absolutely stunning. You get this mix of levels that are something to truly marvel at. If it wasn't for the fear of possibly getting hammered by a random enemy, but yes, the maps are incredible. Fat Shark has designed some awesome maps that come in the form of slums, sludge factories, huge metal industrial forges, futuristic churches with magnificent designs. The levels are created sort of like a maze, and because of that, you'll find that you'll appreciate the maps more once you've learned them, as initially it's easy to get lost in all of the paths, tunnels, hallways, and stairwells. And because of this, it's not always clear where the objective is, as the mission guide markers don't pop up on your screen until you're within a specific radius to it. So yes, at the start, you guys might end up running around lost, but I'm gonna give you the tip. Just look for enemies, and wherever there are baddies, the objective isn't far away. But I want to stress that this is a temporary negative that soon goes away after you know all the maps. You'll never feel lost. The operatives are all designed with great details, but no one looks more badass than the big boy Ogrins. I mean, bro, you can see the skin rolls on this dude's elbows with how much graphical fidelity there is in this game. The detail in this game further extends to the blood splatter and the enemies bursting into pieces. This game has so much gore, and it's all just a dream to experience. You'll pull out a gun, empty a clip, only to find a beautiful red mist of blood left in the air as you gaze at your enemies dead on the floor, enjoying your handiwork. Trust that Fat Shark, the publisher and developer of this game, puts some serious detail into the elite enemies as well, each enemy being easily identified due to their looks and armor and moveset abilities. There will be times that your screen will be filled with green frames, or orange ones for that matter, and it's those very same level of graphical details that allows you to intimately get to know each enemy by what you see on your screen. I enjoyed this game on the GeForce Now with Game Pass on the Ultimate tier, playing on a 4080, so I had no issues with frame rate drops, although I did run into the occasional twerking corpse here and there. Sound and music, magnificent. Just straight up magnificent. The visuals would truly be nothing without incredible sound to go along with it, and just like every elite enemy is visually identifiable, there are also identifiable by sound. You'll hear loud bellowing screams, enemies shouting from afar, hounds barking and running around, a trapper shooting his electric trap out to one of your allies. It's all distinguishable and absolutely needed for a game with so much chaos in order to discern the situation and know how to react appropriately. If you aren't playing this game with headphones, you're honestly doing yourself and your team potentially a disservice. Remember, I mentioned that maps are like a maze, but they aren't flat dimensional mazes. These mazes have stairs, elevators, alleys, and tunnels. So you'll hear an enemy coming.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
But it won't be on the same floor as you. Maybe it's below, so it's going to sound super close by, and this creates an intense level of anticipation. It's so freaking awesome. Multiplayer and online features. Darktide is an online-only multiplayer game, so even if you play solo like I did, you'll be matched up with other teammates with the occasional bot if one wasn't available as far as a teammate, but while playing the missions, bots quickly get replaced by real players. But the bots aren't useless though. They'll have resurrecting as their #1 priority, which unfortunately not all of your teammates will. I never had a single drop match or a server disconnect, and there's always people in this game, so the queues are hella fast. You have 3 ways of communicating with your teammates: by voice chat, text chat, or using shortcut commands, which are super helpful. There's really nothing lacking from this game's multiplayer features. I always felt that I had the tools needed to work with my team, even without using voice and text chat. Replayability and content. As of this review, I have 45 hours into the game, and that's nothing. I got over 400 hours in Vermintide 2, and that's still nothing. I share that because the sheer amount of hours you can put into this game is horrendous. I believe as of right now, it would take on average about 500 hours to unlock everything in the game, with all possible achievements, which are called penances. The true love of this game is deeply seated in the desire to just cause carnage and go nuts on hordes of enemies with your team. And that's something that you'll experience at all times and at all points in Darktide. There are 5 levels of difficulty, being Sedition, Uprising, Malice, Heresy, and Damnation. If you're wondering what you should play, I would recommend that you play Sedition difficulty up until about level 15. That will give you enough time to have experienced a fair rotation of the maps, become familiar with them, enemies, and combat as well too. Then you can step up to Uprising. The difference between Sedition and Uprising is very meaningful, as enemies that would die to 1 hit in Sedition are taking maybe 2 hits to 3 hits in Uprising to down. What about the other difficulties, Arch?
I don't want peace. I want problems, always!
Yeah, I've gone as far as Malice, and without a team of 4 friends, I wouldn't dare go higher. I'm actually having plenty of fun between Uprising and Malice. Each level of difficulty will increase the enemy's health, frequency of elites showing up, group size, bosses, and other shit I just didn't bother looking up. The release of this game saw it arrive to the market missing some meat on its bones, but keep in mind, this is also a $40 game. As of now, Fat Shark has continued to bring in updates, and as of the most recent, we've had a huge content patch bringing in talents for all of the operatives, giving Darktide a huge increase in its replayability while still maintaining that $40 price tag. Much like Vermintide 2, a game that was released 5 years ago, Fat Shark intends to continue bringing on the content updates, some free and some will be paid. Conclusion. Boys, this Horde Lawnmower Simulator comes neatly packaged with 500 hours of gameplay for a tidy $40, and it's also on Game Pass. What else could you ask for, you greedy piece of shit? I enjoyed this game, and I'll continue to enjoy this game for a long time, as I intend to live stream the game once I'm at 50 subs here. Hope you guys enjoyed the review, and I know that you'll enjoy the game. Like and subscribe, you filthy bastards.